wants to cut Social Security, Medicare and Medicaid, and the Affordable Care Act should be removed completely. This has been done by him, and he brought only 4 bills in the first 3 months to cover those 4 items. And I'd like to know whether or not, even though Mr. Donovan is in his party with full form, will you follow his lead also with regard to Social Security and these other programs enforcing cuts? Because we, the seniors in this room and in this community, will be definitely affected by it.
That question on what happens when you go to Washington is about 5 separate questions from you in the audience, so we're going to allow that to cover all of you who asked the questions about Obamacare, which is the Affordable Health Care Act, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, which right now is looking to be cut and decimated in Washington. Vinny?
Yeah, so let me mention the fact that if in fact the Affordable Health Care Act were repealed, one of the consequences of that would happen is that the seniors would have to go back to Medicare Part D coverage for your prescription drugs, and what would come back is that donut hole for Medicare Part D. If you remember that donut hole, where it would cover you up to a certain point for prescription drugs, and then there would be a gap that there would be no coverage, and you would have to pay your drugs completely on your own for a couple of $1,000s, and then it would pick up again after you paid that out of your pocket. So they called that the donut hole. That was way before the Affordable Care Act. I remember going around to senior centers trying to explain to them about Medicare Part D and the donut hole. That, for the last 5 years, has not been an issue, because under the Affordable Care Act, prescription drug coverage for seniors has been covered. Now, if we go back and repeal the Affordable Care Act, the donut hole comes back. And Medicare Part D is now going to be an issue and a problem for seniors. So that is a consequence, Alan, of what they're proposing in Congress now by repealing the Affordable Care Act. And as I said, I want to be a proponent for Social Security and for Medicare and Medicaid, and the proposals they have on the table now are not good for New York, not good for seniors, and not good for the entire country. So absolutely, I would not support that. In fact, it would be crazy for us to send somebody to Congress who would join the Republican caucus, who is putting out this agenda, talking about that would do these things to seniors. Why would we add to their strength by sending somebody into the Republican caucus that is putting out an agenda that hurts people? I don't understand it, but I will be opposed to it.
Thank you.
I'm strongly opposed. Everything we're talking about, from housing to public schools to healthcare to Social Security, all of these things are achievable. We can have a Medicare for all system that, without the donut holes and everything, if we just do simple things. I mean, it's mind-blowing how people can think that cutting Medicare would be a good thing for anybody. Healthcare is a human right. People should be allowed to the healthcare that they need. My mother right now, she's 65, she just had a breast removed, she's going through chemo and radiation right now. And we're seeing all the things that people are saying, oh, well, sorry, your coverage doesn't cover this, your coverage doesn't. So it's like, so I'm using whatever money I have to pull out to help her. I'm trying to fill her donut hole right now with funds I don't even have. Nobody should have to go through this. And once again, it's just not right. We need to look at how our funding is going. We need to look at what our money is going to. And as I mentioned before, the biggest part of our congressional budget is going to wars overseas. It's not taxing the rich, the wealthiest 1% in this country, the corporations. Everybody's getting a break except for the people of color, the elderly, the poor. We're the ones that are suffering from the fact that the 99%, exactly. We're the ones that are suffering from other people's austerity, and it has to stop.
Thank you for that question. Thank you for for that question. Okay, this is when you can ask a question of each other. Councilman Gentile, Mr. James Lane, and Tom White. Okay, we have 4 candidates up here. No, okay. Mr. Gentile.
Thank you, thank you, Peter. Mr. Lane, today, I think it's today in Congress, they may actually be voting on that, the fast tracking for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a trade deal that would hurt this country in many, many ways. And today might actually be a vote on whether to allow fast tracking, which would prohibit Congress from changing the agreement and only voting yes or no on the whole thing. I'm curious to know what your opinion is of fast tracking and the TPP.
Well, this is a hot topic on my Facebook page. We've been getting people to call and say no on fast track. Fast track is just a way to remove the democratic process for the situation. We know TPP, we call it NAFTA on steroids. It's bad for the people, bad for this country, and bad for the world. It's going to impact our global community in such a way that everyone's going to suffer from this. And this fast tracking is just a way to say, okay, yes or no. No debates in Congress, no debates in Senate. And it's what we have right now, where Congress doesn't even vote on wars anymore. The president just signs an executive order and we're at war with somebody. So it's another example of taking away the power from Congress, the power that the people have empowered us with. So definitely no on fast track, and I tell people after this debate, please call. If you see a Facebook post, call and strenuously oppose it.
I'll be real quick. I agree with both of these gentlemen. And I'll be glad to have them assist me when I become a congressman on that issue. But, this is a way to sort of suspend democracy, where the president assumes, that's what happened in Vietnam, where Lyndon Johnson basically assumed, well, we're all for this kind of thing, and look what happened, okay? It's got to stop, whether it's a Republican president or the acting president was Bush, the real president was Cheney, who got us into that war. And that kind of stuff has to stop. My understanding is that there is still a United States Constitution, although presidents continually try to suspend it. And so I'm against that fast track. Fast track is like a railway. Fast track is a disaster. So I agree with these gentlemen on that.
Mr. Lane, do you have a question for?
The only question I have is, and everyone will get sick of me saying this, is that I'm for $15 now. And Mr. Gentile did mention that he would raise it to $13, and I just wanted to know, is there a time frame that you would raise it to $13?
Yeah, I think the president is proposing a $10 minimum wage, federal minimum wage, and then I think within a year or two we should raise it to 13. You have to give businesses an opportunity to graduate into those levels, and so and you also have to give people the opportunity to earn that higher wage and allow them to start consuming and stimulating the economy with the little extra money that they have. So it has to be done in stages, but I think it should be done in stages that are relatively quick so that we get to the $13 and then tie it to inflation so that it would automatically get adjusted over time.
My question is a question that I asked you during the preliminaries, and it's a question. I made some reference to Tibet, which is one of the real soft points or the hard points in our relationship with China, which is fundamental. Many people do not know that Tibet was an independent country before it was invaded by China. I've discussed with it, now it will be a very specific question, I've discussed with several members of the United States Congress, including Senator Warren, the possibility of a proposal that would not recognize the government of Tibet, which would create a diplomatic crisis, but would recognize the nationhood of Tibet. Remember, that was an independent country before it was invaded by China, just as Poland was invaded by Germany. Would you consider supporting a bill or a resolution that would call upon the United States to recognize the nationhood of Tibet? Remember, that is an occupied country, and an occupied country whose people are being slaughtered. I'm not going to describe some of the tortures that are going on in that country, okay? Which should be relevant to Staten Island, by the way, which is home to the world's greatest collection of Tibetan art at the Jacques Marchais Museum up there on Lighthouse Road, right near where Mary Codd used to live. So my question is, of both of you, assuming you upset me and get elected to the Congress, would you consider supporting legislation that's already been quietly endorsed by some of your colleagues that would call upon the United States to recognize not the independence, the nationhood of Tibet, and therefore the removal of all foreign military and police personnel? Okay, that's my question. You can take it whatever you want. You go first.
I would look at it and I would consider it, wouldn't commit to it, but right now I would consider it.
I would definitely consider it. As a Green Party member, we're not a fan of any oppression by one group of people over another, and you know, this is part of our social justice stance.
We're going to go into closing statements, and we've been here a long time. Again, I would like to thank all of you. I just have to introduce Helen Klein, who is the editor of the Home Reporter, Brooklyn Spectator. We have Will Brenneman in the back, who has an online blog called a newspaper called The Observer. But I'm going to ask Courtney, when will New York One be televising this event so the audience can go home and relive it?
Isn't it live? Are we doing it live?
Tonight at 7.
Tonight at 7 at New York One.
Uncut, I hope.
Max, when will this be in the Courier papers?
Paper on Friday, online this afternoon.
In this coming week's papers?
Yes.
Helen, when will this be in? Okay, on the stand tomorrow throughout all of Bay Ridge, Dyker, throughout this entire neighborhood, you can go out, you can pick up the Home Reporter, Brooklyn Spectator, and it's called the Bay Ridge Courier, and the Bay Ridge Courier. Do pick them up and read what happened today. And now, for closing statements, Mr. Lane, you go first. We're going to make it into a 2-3 minutes closing.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I will keep it short because pretty much everything I would say in my closing statement you've heard over this time period. But the main thing I mentioned is that our country is going in the wrong direction with a lot of things, and we've seen it. We've seen the corporations and the wealthiest 1% of this company get on